There are a total of 68 elephants here. They range in age from 18 months to 70 years. While there are struggles in Sri Lanka between wild animals like these and the farmers whose crops they can destroy, the nation is looking for ways to keep elephants and people on opposite sides of different barriers, and to keep places like this one where animals can thrive. Welcome to the world from A to Z with Carl Azuz. I'm Carl Azuz. Thank you for watching. The United States and Russia have started holding talks about how to end the ongoing war in Ukraine, but will peace result from them? Here's some background. A full-scale war broke out between Russia and Ukraine in 2022 after Russia fully invaded its western neighbor. The U.S. government supported Ukraine, sending it tens of billions of dollars in weapons, equipment, and humanitarian aid. And most European countries have supported Ukraine as well, while Belarus, Iran, and North Korea have supported Russia. This week, officials from the U.S. and Russia met in Saudi Arabia. Their goal? To try to find a way to end the war in Ukraine. It was the first time since that war began that American and Russian officials publicly met in person to discuss this, and the U.S. called it the first step in a difficult effort. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his government knew nothing about the talks and wouldn't support anything decided without Ukraine's input.
Ukraine perceives any negotiations about Ukraine without Ukraine as those with no results. We cannot
True or false? 3 false if you get it correct.
Support than any other country to Ukraine, and experts say the U.S. was more closely aligned with the European nations that support Ukraine. Under President Donald Trump, America has indicated it wants security for the money it sends Ukraine, like that nation's rare earth materials, and experts say the U.S. might be more willing to negotiate one-on-one with Russia. At this point, there's no certain end to the war either way.
Word of knowledge. The first credit card in the U.S. was issued by what company? American Express, Diners Club, Discover, Wells Fargo. What is widely considered the first credit card was offered in 1950 by an organization named Diners Club.
We're bringing in a bit of financial literacy today. You often hear warnings about credit card debt and people charging things they can't pay off right away. But experts say there are some upsides to young people having cards. One big one is they can establish credit. If someone with a manageable amount of debt makes their required payments on time over time, a lender like a bank might be more willing to give them a loan down the road for a big purchase like a car. Good credit can open those doors. Bad credit, of course, results when people don't make payments on the debt they have. Banks may think it's too risky to give them loans, and they get stuck, unable to buy more when they need to. That's not a problem that's limited to young people. A recent report says Americans' household debt is now more than $18 trillion, the highest it's ever been. That includes car loans, student loans, home loans, and credit card debt.
Americans are struggling to pay off their debt. Nobody should...
True or false? The answer is false.
In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
On this date in world history. Literal revolutions in music technology took place on this date in 1878. American inventor Thomas Edison received a patent for the phonograph. It didn't look much like a record player, but the first device that could record and replay sound did it through a cylinder that spun around. On this date in 1942, while the U.S. fought Japan during World War II, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued controversial Executive Order 9066. It led to the forced relocation of more than 120,000 Japanese Americans, mostly in the western U.S., to internment camps. More than 4 decades later, the U.S. government recognized the order as unjust and offered partial compensation to the victims. And on this date in 2008, Cuban President Fidel Castro officially stepped down from his position. But the man who'd led the island's communist revolution in the 1950s kept his influence in Cuba's Communist Party as his brother Raul took over the presidency.
Where in the world
This nation used to be part of Yugoslavia, but it achieved its independence from there in 1991. You'll find it between Austria and Croatia, and its capital is Ljubljana. This is Slovenia, whose population is just over 2 million people.
RC jets are the main show in the Slovenian town of Lesce. Hobbyist pilots and about 50...
True or false? Answer is false.
There's even a dummy pilot inside the cockpit. It looks like an elaborate hobby, but it's much more accessible than owning an actual fighter jet. This scale model hobby is growing fast by a steady 3% each year.
As we go roaming, we land in Wyoming, where Miss Garnett's class is watching at the right place. That's the name of the middle school in the city of Sheridan, and that's in the Cowboy State. In the town of Davie, Florida, we see Mr. Benaby's class watching from the Sunshine State. Hello to David Posnack Jewish Day School. And Mr. Howard's class is also online today. The Bears are watching from Selma Burke Middle in the town of Mooresville in the Tar Heel State of North Carolina. We're headed back out west for a look at a sport that combines two activities enjoyed this time of year in Idaho: skiing and horseback riding. Here's what that looks like. What's known as ski joring isn't just for fun here. 135 teams competed in this year's event, navigating obstacles and grabbing the suspended rings they passed, with whoever collecting the most rings winning the prize money. The total value of that, $10,000. Well, it sure ain't ski boring, with the onlooker ski snoring as they sleep on the ski flooring, all ski doring, the ski joring. No, with the snow ski pouring, harnessed horses ski roaring by, with riders ski touring as they all go ski soaring. It's unbridled bit and bridled fun, unhalting haltered horseback run, a snow-toed race whose winner reigns, a warhorse, lord horse of the rings. I'm Carl Azus. Thankfully, you're watching the world from A to Z. You mean the world to me.